lot of different things, vitamins and stuff. And when you get to be my age, you'll understand. A lot of things, a little bit of caffeine. So, you drink coffee yet?
Every day.
You do?
Yeah, I do it that, and I do a thing about electrolytes also to get.
Yeah, that's good. You drink coffee in the evening?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. About 5 o'clock, I drink it. It keeps me alive till 9 p.m.
Yeah. How's the first week of practice look?
Good. It's, no pads. So I'm excited about the next 2 weeks. I feel like after we have a couple weeks of pads, we'll get an idea of kind of where we are, and like Gene Hackman said, see what kind of hand we've been dealt here. We'll know a lot more after 6 practices and pads. The enthusiasm's good, the coach's enthusiasm's good, all that's a plus. Guys are buying in. Academic reports are good, attendance is good. All the things that we need to move in the right direction are happening, but we'll see what happens when we get in pads for 6 practices.
Have you seen the enthusiasm from the coaches and players more than you have in recent years? Because there is so much more new.
And it depends on the personality of the coach. Some coaches are loud and enthusiastic all the time. Some are quiet. The quiet ones may be better coaches, but this is a louder group. And there is enthusiasm. I shared with the staff, I've been fired several times in my life. And in our profession, that doesn't necessarily mean one thing or the other, but when there is a new group, it's something new, It's being in high school, you broke up, you're going out with a new girlfriend, she's cooler than the last one just because she's new. There's some of that, but there's a lot of excitement.
Besides the coaches, you got a lot of new players, like 30 new bodies out there. Do you pay closer attention to see, hey, what does this guy practice like? What's his intensity level? Or are they just all part of your group?
Both. So you like to kind of see what investments we made in the portal, but this game is played with contact. So what's going on, other than them being enthusiastic, running around, working hard in the weight room, I'm going to go back to, we'll see what happens over the next couple weeks. But it is intriguing because there's 32 new guys. So it's interesting, and it'll be a process, in my opinion, this week because of the new systems on both sides of the ball.
Are there things on the middle side that you can pick up from guys and say, okay, this guy's getting this quicker than others, or is it still too early for that?
I'm not getting any red flags from anybody when I've had discussions with both sides of the ball on learning issues at this point, but it changes when you play full speed with pads. I'm just telling you, it's a different world. So that's, again, why I go back to, we'll know a lot more here in 2 weeks.
Just getting this out of the way, because I don't think you thought it would come together this year, but the NCAA said no to Dion and Syracuse on their deal. But the coaches have said, we're going to look at this, and next year, that may be part of this. So your feeling on that?
I think we should. I mentioned it the other day. I just thought of the deal with OU. I think it's a good deal. I would like to do it. I'd like to practice against them. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to waste my time on who's going to determine what the rules are anymore, because essentially there's not really enough of them to follow. And I'm not even sure how they have grounds to say you can't do it. Like if somebody just goes and does it, what are they going to do to them?
Mike, what's more important this time of year? Is it the install of the new coordinators, or is it the chemistry that the new players are getting with these new coordinators?
Well, both. I mean, we've got to get systems in place, and these guys are going to install for 4 more days. And then once that's in, they got to try to create some cohesiveness. And then we've got to find out who can make plays on both sides of the ball, and then we got to start developing the systems and go that direction, because all these guys can coach and draw plays up, and the X's and O's, but we all know it's the Jimmys and Joes and what they can do, and that's what's important. So both of those things will be very important, so we can kind of find out who we are.
Are you liking the way that these guys are really adapting to the personality of these coordinators?
Yeah, they're doing good. Both guys are taking control, and they have different personalities, but they're very knowledgeable. They're football guys. They're football junkies, and the players, I think, have an appreciation and respect for their ability to coach football.
Do you still have your no cussing rule from your coaching staff?
No.
Where'd that go?
Well, one, I can't hear very good anymore, and I'm up top, so I have selective hearing, just like I do when I'm at home at night. I have selective hearing, but we minimize it. We do have signals that if I think it gets out of control, somebody can go over there and we can calm it down some. The one thing that I do have is we don't direct it at a person, like broad, okay, but we don't direct it at a player.
Are you anticipating when Pat comes over to watch that he'll get a warm glow when he goes out there and listens?
Well, I'm not gonna. There's some Todd Monken-ish guys that are on this staff, and so my job is to try to get the right guys and then let them coach and be who they are. We all have to be who we are. We can do the best we can to direct some of that in the right way, but at times you get in the heat of the moment. I'd rather have to pull a dog out than kick him in a fight.
Has anybody ever been even close to Munkin's level of volume and variety on profanity?
We've got a couple guys that'll challenge him. I'll have to wait through the end of spring ball to give you an update.
Currently you do.
I'm not saying they can get to his level, but they're heading in that ballpark.
Would that be on the defensive side of the ball, man?
Yeah, more on the defensive side. Yeah.
Josh Ford's a guy we're gonna talk to today, and obviously we saw what he did as a true freshman. Where do you see things progressing for him, and how different might the tight end position be in Meacham's offense?
Similar to what we did. We have a couple more athletic style bodies that we'll see how those guys develop and the potential we have to use them. There's a lot of things we can do. That position has become very valuable. You see it in the NFL. So Josh's development mentally will be a plus for him. When you're out there as a true freshman, you're just playing. And now he'll feel better. He's accustomed to it, playing on the road. He's, always been a great worker, and he's a tough guy. So he should start to make some strides, in the games 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back through that part of the season, he should really start making some strides.
Go ahead.
From what I could tell, looking back at some of Meacham's previous stuff, he seems to like the tight end.
We all like tight ends. The ones that can do two things are an advantage. It adds an extra gap in the blocking schemes, and then a guy that can potentially catch a pass. They're valuable part, and we've made an investments in tight ends.
The other guy we're talking to on offense has always had ability, and he works hard. You see it in the off season, but Talon Shetron has just had a lot of bad luck when it comes to the injuries. How much are you looking forward to maybe him avoiding something like that?
It'd be nice for him to play a season injury-free. He's had 3 serious injuries, and it's difficult. He's continued to fight back. He looks as good now as he ever has. So hopefully he can stay healthy, and if he does, I would suspect that he'll contribute to our team.
How big can Cam be a leader on that defense this year?
Who?
Cam Smith.
Well, he's another guy that's, we were just talking about him being here early in his career. Now he's a veteran guy, and it'll be important with so many new players that'll be on the field on the defensive side of the ball. And, he's a guy that's been around and is a veteran, and it needs to kind of bring those guys together. But he's been a good player for us and been a reliable player.
How neat is it when you have a football family? His grandpa played in a Super Bowl, and then how neat is that when you think of those storylines and those generations being
Pretty
football
cool,
families?
Yeah. It's a neat deal for them, and they've been here a long time now, and it's almost becoming a rarity that you have young men that start and finish at one school, and that's what we're looking forward to with him.
Quarterbacks, have you seen anything in the last week to distinguish one from another?
Not really. Just, they're not getting hit and really not getting pushed around much because no pads. I hate to say the same thing, but that's going to change over the next couple of weeks. We should start to see what guys can, what plays they can make, I guess I should say, and how productive they can be in pressure situations.
Are you going to have them hit some? The quarterback?
Yeah, they'll get hit some this spring.
Broadly speaking, on recruiting, have some old tried and true methods like in-home visits, getting to know a kid and his family, like have those gone away to a large degree because of NIL, and that the bottom line speaks louder than anything?
Well, in-home visits are somewhat rare and not as big as they used to be because they're all showing up here way before we get to that point. So we're recruiting sophomores and juniors. They're on campus. They're here. Visits are unlimited now. So that side of it, the relationship, in my opinion, is still an important part of it. But the money is a factor. I don't think there's any question that in most cases you have to be in the ball game dollar figure wise to be able to get in on certain players.
So Mike, like on a 50-50 kind of situation on an in-home with a guy who really became a really valuable player for you, who do you remember maybe as being a really important home run kind of an in-home visit for you guys? Who did you win because of a great in-home situation?
Gosh, I don't know. For me, probably the biggest one was R.W. McQuarters. There's been a bunch of them. Russell Okun, he was heading to LSU. Les and I went down there to see him, made some headway there. Justin Gilbert, same situation. A lot of our big name players, weren't really highly recruited guys. Blackman wasn't highly recruited. Trayson and Tywin not really highly recruited. The running backs weren't really highly recruited. We had a good in-home visit in Georgia with Chris Carson. I didn't feel like we were going to get him, and we made some headway in the house with him.
Took the Heisman with you on that one, didn't you?
How big is it for Justin to be in the ring? How special is that?
Well, Justin's obviously a great player. He's a guy that I would have guessed would have played 10 years in the NFL. But Hartley Dykes was probably the greatest receiver I've ever seen in my life. But Justin was right there by him. He could take a game over and played with a tremendous amount of confidence.
Hartley went in the Hall of Honor.
Sure did,
next to
yeah.
that. You want
Yeah.
to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, well, he's, in my opinion, he's one of the best to ever play. Most people don't know about him. We didn't have social media back then. He only played on TV 3 times a year. But, there just wasn't anybody like him. 6'4", 230 pounds, and had competitive speed. 4-3 guys chased him in the game and couldn't catch him. He's just special. There's just not a guy like him. He can do anything he wanted to do. And very, very deserving of the honors that he's receiving. Long overdue.
You've always been complimentary of the work that both Todd Bradford and Kenyatta do in their roles, but is this heading to a place where both of those jobs are going to be one person eventually at the college football level?
Well, both those jobs are going to end up having staff, more so. Todd's staff's going to have to increase. Kenyatta's going to have to start to get his own staff. There's too much work from a legal standpoint, communication with agents, dollar numbers, figures. It's too much work. And now, with no limitations on recruiting, it just turns a full circle. So those two people are very important, and those jobs are going to continue to grow.
Does this free the coaches up to coach more, spend more time on the coaches than identifying talent, recruiting?
We still have to do it ourselves. The job, I work more now than I have ever in my career. More hours, more time. And pretty much everybody's that way now.
Do you anticipate a restructuring of the flow chart? Like general manager, most places now in college, it's just talent evaluation and negotiation. It's not hiring and firing the football coach, but in the NFL it is.
Yeah, we're already doing that here. We don't have a general manager. I feel like I'm the general manager. But we have a business, and Kenyatta's going to have to build a staff, and Todd has, we used to call recruiting staff, now they're a scouting department because they've got to scout everybody in the country during the season. We've got to look at all these other schools. So it has changed. I know most schools are going to a general manager, which is basically taking over for the head coach and doing, 75% of what he does. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just feel like that's my job. That's what I do. But Kenyatta's staff's going to have to build. Todd's staff's going to have to grow. And then the coaches are going to have to do both, just like always.
Do you know when that's like when those staffs will be? Because I think in November or December we were talking about these same conversations. Building out those recruiting and development staffs. Is that something that's kind of in the timeline that you're kind of planning
Yeah,
for?
well, once we get through spring and May and June, we're going to have to start increasing these staffs if we're going to get out there and compete. And the communication and recruiting is going through agents, okay? And they speak languages I don't speak. It's different contracts, years, value, things like that. So we're going to have enough people in place to communicate with these people. And a large portion of that does not take place between 8 and 5. It takes place between 6 and 10 at night. So that's the issue you're dealing with right now.
Mike, there's probably never been, except maybe Hartley Dykes, but otherwise there's probably never been a better football athlete here than Dez. But he had the one great season. He was great against Georgia. And then it didn't end well, right? So do you think he did enough in that abbreviated window to be considered for some of these legacy kind of
Yeah, he did. Dez would be in the exact same category, except he got cheated. I mean, what a awful situation for him, right? Said one little thing, got scared, and they banned him. I mean, just awful. Otherwise, he would be in the same category. He's right in there with Justin and Hartley, because athletically he was freakish. And then, of course, he went on and did great things in the NFL. But we can't punish him for the ignorance of what somebody did to him, in my opinion. It's not his fault.
But you would support like the highest level of recognition that you guys have for former players. You would think
for us
would be on that list.
For us, Bill, but the other people that make decisions on whatever Hall of Fames, I don't know what their criteria is. Maybe X number of games or years or something. But if you just take what he did basically in 1 year, then he would be up there for most of these.
I would think what he did against A&M alone, put him on.
And Georgia, and Washington State. When we just threw the ball to him every down, just threw it up, let him jump up and catch it. So,
what's your role in the transfer portal? Are you meeting with these guys, or is Kenyatta and Todd giving you you guys were looking at, here's guys we're bringing in for visits? I mean, are you kind of meeting and building? I guess just what's your role in the transfer portal this December and everything going on?
The players have to be in the portal, okay, for contact purposes. Certainly not to go anywhere. They can go without it, but once they're in there, then we look at their grades, see how they fit in, then we start communicating. Get on the phone with them, try to get them in on a visit. But then Kenyatta's got to take over and get in the phone with their agents and get into the business side of it, and that's why you got to have that side of it.
I guess what's Mike Gundy's are you meeting with Malik Charles and some of these?
Oh yeah, sure. When they come here, I'm full time with them. Yeah, I usually have calls to them, and then when they come here, I'm spending time with them.
Similar to a high school kid, or
yeah, high school kids all have agents now also, so it's very similar.
You mentioned how some teams now have a more pro-like setup where there is a GM that has a lot of say, maybe even equal footing with the head coach, and you wouldn't be comfortable in doing that. Can you just talk about that a little bit more? Do you just see that as the responsibility of a head coach to handle their own roster?
Well, so what does a general manager do at this level?
I guess identify which players to target, recruit, come up with evaluations.
Same thing as a head coach. I'm just comfortable doing it. I mean, that's my job. Mm-hmm. If I had a general manager that took over all that, well, I don't know what I would do all day. So, and again, I'm not saying it's wrong. Mm-hmm. I just think that that's my job. That's what I do. I haven't gone that direction yet.
You mentioned that you'll know a lot more here in 6 practices whenever you get to watch these guys compete with pads on. Is there with all the new faces, is there a day that you'll learn more about a team over the past however many years than you will today, just seeing these guys in pads for the first time?
Oh, not yet. It's different every spring. It's different every year. Players are different. Reasons things happen are different. So, in the end, what we need to do is over the next 2 weeks, we need to try to get a pretty good feel for who we think can make plays based on what schemes we think give us the best chance to have success. And then we have to start going in that direction, developing, a 2 deep And then from that point moving forward, after spring ball, you have to determine where you think you're at with the 105, and then which players that you're going to have to tell they can't come back. Maybe it's more than that, and then you have to go look at portal guys. Maybe you feel like, hey, we don't have this position, so we got to move these guys on, and we got to bring portal guys in, because that's what's happened now. It's a business. And then when that happens, you stop paying those guys. I mean, it's the NFL.
I feel like y'all got through the first week of practice pretty healthy.
Yeah, we're doing good. We had one lower injury on Jaden, but other than that, we're doing pretty good.
Jaden.
Jaden Allen.
And